Good afternoon, everybody. It's Steve and Paul from WinExtra, back with you finally for November the 17th Daily Brief, number 45.
Yeah, we missed yesterday's show.
And the day before. We missed 2 days.
How could we miss the day before, Steve? Oh, good God, today is Wednesday.
Yeah,
yes.
It is.
Okay, all right.
You know,
I apologize.
That'll
tell you.
That's the blogger curse. We lose track of days.
That'll tell you how sort of hectic things have been.
Yes.
And exactly why we haven't been here for 2 days. Now, one thing interesting that we did miss on the 2 days that we've been out and about is apparently, Stephen, somebody's going around and saying that Windows Phone 7, more specifically AT&T as reported by the LA Times, is frying memory cards when they're put into your Windows Phone.
Bad Phone 7. Jeez.
Yes. How dare you, Windows Phone 7? How dare you fry memory cards when your operating system isn't even designed to have them put in?
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you know what to do with them?
Yeah. There was a follow-up post to that. Windows Phone 7 SD card problems is not Microsoft's fault.
No, it's the device maker's fault. Now, we have talked about the benefits, the fact that there is expandable storage inside most of these units.
Yeah, but you raised an interesting point. Hang on a second. You raised an interesting point was the fact that iPhone doesn't support SD cards.
No, it doesn't, because the design is not to have expandable memory. And Windows Phone 7 is, in many senses, the same as that, because here's the crux of the matter. When it comes to these SD cards, even though they all look the same, they don't all operate the same. They're not all built to the same standard. And much like when you put in, those instant boosts when you put in a card into your laptop, and Windows does a check on it, Ready Boost. And Windows does a check on it to see if it's compatible, and not all cards are. Yeah. It's the same with Windows Phone 7. And also, Windows Phone 7, when it does use them, is using them as more in the sense of RAM than it is in the sense of a read-write situation that you ordinarily get. So, the fault is actually with the device manufacturers who have given you expansion slots when they weren't supposed to. Now, rumors... sorry, go on.
I just think it's absolutely hilarious. iPhone doesn't support it, but yet Microsoft is supposed to support it because why?
It's because people want it, I suppose. But you know what? If the Apple fanboys can live without it, so can Microsoft Windows Phone 7 users. But here's a simple analogy to draw for people, okay? Let's say you went into anywhere tomorrow and you buy a brand new laptop. And it comes with, say, a HD disk writer built into it. But the operating system that you purchase, the operating system that comes on the laptop, doesn't support that writer. Yeah. That is not the operating system's fault. That's the manufacturer that put the laptop together and pawned it off on you.
The same thing has happened with Windows, okay? And Vista was bad for this. Drivers not being available. And Microsoft gets the blame, but it's not like the whole NVIDIA thing with Vista.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous when you go back and look at it. Most people didn't pay attention to that at the time. They just said that Vista was shite, and Vista was blamed for everything. But a lot of the times, it was actually HP, NVIDIA, companies like that who didn't put out drivers. And the worst thing was at the time when it came to dealing specifically with NVIDIA was that they were actually involved with Microsoft for like 3 years prior to the release of Vista, specifically for graphics card support and dealing with drivers, and they still couldn't get their shit together.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of these troubles apparently aren't stopping the sales of Windows Phone 7, and aren't stopping Samsung from...
just as a side point before we go to this one, I was up at the mall the other day, and I think this is going to be a real problem for the adoption of Windows Phone 7. I was up at the mall, and up there they've got 2 TELUS satellite stores. They've got a Rogers store, and they've got the Bell store. Okay. None of them had. The one satellite TELUS store had an actual demo, like you couldn't use it. It just had that pasted on front. They had the LG Optimus. But none of them had any overt signage for the Windows Phone 7. And like I said, only the one satellite store for TELUS actually had a handset there.
Well, you see, what you must remember is that a lot of these stores, it's not just right. They're affiliated with carriers,
yeah,
and they're essentially told by the carriers what to push.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the carriers need certain phones pushed in order to make sales, etc. That's what will happen.
What that's telling me is that the carriers are not supporting Windows Phone 7 to the same degree they are the Android or iPhone, because all of them had iPhone posters up all over the place.
Well, you know what? I suppose it all depends on kickbacks and a whole load of other things. You know, I do not own a store that sells these things, so it's a bit hard for me to comment on that. However, manufacturer support is most certainly there, as I was trying to say.
Yeah, sorry.
No. I'm not giving out anything, but you know what? Samsung is apparently supposed to introduce 15 to 20 new smartphone models using Android next year. But
they're doubling down.
Basically they're using the Android, Windows, and Brada operating systems. But for every 50 smartphones using Windows, it's going to be making 24 using Android and 5 using Brada, which basically is a 2-to-1. It's more than a 2-to-1 production of Windows Phone 7 devices and models over Android, and we all know that Android is currently kicking Apple.
Oh yeah. So from what I understand, LG is doing quite well with its sale of Windows Phone 7s. Of course, we're still waiting for the Dell to be more available. HP, there was one other company that is coming out with Windows Phone. I can't remember, but there's another company that's going to be starting to really concentrate on Windows Phone 7 too. So yeah, like you said, the manufacturer end of it, the OEMs are piling on this. They see the potential for it. The only ones that seem to be slowing it down really are the carriers.
Yeah, well, that's always the case, isn't it? It's the middleman in it all, the one who should have perhaps the least power and just be happy that anybody is coming onto their network and willing to use them. Although, are the ones that are slowing up the show. I
will say, this is the one thing that Apple got right. They have basically 2 versions of the iPhone, and that's only dictated by the amount of space and gigs that they can hold. Android is all over the freaking. Every time you turn around, there's at least 10 or 20 new handsets being announced, weekly, which is totally diluting the whole brand.
It's not really diluting the brand though. It's a matter of choice. You can have it on as many devices or platforms as you want, and that I don't
want Microsoft to go down that road. We've
discussed that a million times. Microsoft needs the more, not quite an entirely
5 handsets. 5 handsets. That's all they really need.
No, they can't do that. They cannot do that because there's too many carriers out there for that. What they need to do is what they are doing, which is controlling the hardware spec.
Yeah.
And that is where they need to be. Now, speaking of things decisions coming out of Microsoft, one decision that they're not doing
is breaking up the company.
Breaking up the company, yeah. Apparently at yesterday's shareholder meeting, some frustrated shareholder decided that he was a bit pissed off at the fact that Microsoft's share price is stuck in the mid $20 range. And has been for
15 years.
since basically I was 17 years of age. And, companies like Apple and Google are skyrocketing. But, of course, we can get into the semantics of that. New companies come along, they do well, and everybody eventually hits a plateau. But that's another story. But basically, this guy turned around and all quote. He says, it's time to consider breaking the company up, taking these great core businesses that we have and getting shareholder value by divesting them into maybe not 8, maybe 4, maybe 6 I don't know what the right number is,
Yeah.
but it's time to break up Microsoft.
Yeah.
So the guy really didn't have a clue what he's talking about. He's just venting frustrations. Anyway, Bill Gates and Ballmer basically came out and they said, you know what? We're stronger as a single entity. We've got so many competencies, but they're all interlinked.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually,
and in
you know,
ways that most people don't even understand.
Gates gave probably the best. I guess the one quote I read about this, and like he did give a good reasoning. I don't have it handy. I should have grabbed it before we started, but we don't have the time either. But no, he gave the best reason that I can think of for not breaking it up. Anyway, we are running low on time here, so quickly to the Xbox. Some good news as far as that's
just before
concerned.
we hit the Xbox, after yesterday's shareholders meeting, the stock went up in price. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, good news. Xbox doing these things rapidly. For the 5th month in a row, Xbox 360 has outsold the Wii and the PS3, according to numbers from NPD. And this is even in light of the fact that overall hardware sales are down in the gaming sector. Also, good news for Microsoft again. Kinect sold 1 million units in its first 10 days, which now analysts are saying puts it on track for 5 million units before the end of the year. Finally, Gears of War fans. We may be having Gears of War for Kinect being announced on December 11th, according to a Spike TV video that was at the Spike TV Game Awards. Now, it will not be Gears of War 3, according to Epic's Epic's design director. So that leaves the gates open that it may be a patch for previous Gears of War that will allow it to be Kinect enabled, or we may be seeing a whole new sub-story coming out of Epic.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait until December 11th to find out.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. And on that note, folks, this has been a daily brief for November 17th. And we're back. We will be back tomorrow. So on that note, everybody, have a good day, and we'll catch you later.
Have a good one. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.